benchmarks in order to do that. And the amount of compute and resources, again, are going exponential because you need to squeeze that out, as well as have good data, as well as have good algorithms. So before, you could just chuck everything into a pot, slosh it around. Now it's the real quality that differentiates the top models between each other. And it's become more of an engineering and quality challenge than just a brute force challenge.
Insane.
Can I play so what for a second?
Please, yeah.
Okay, so I've got a problem. I would suggest that if I'm trying to answer that problem or get a solution to it, I could go to any of these and they're going to give me marginally roughly the same answer. Yes. So we're at a point where the new step is, I want to get into the details of Grok to figure out why is it so radically different from any of the others, right? And that's where I think the fun will come.
Every week, I study the 10 major tech metatrends that will transform industries over the decade ahead. I cover trends ranging from humanoid robots, AGI, quantum computing, transport, energy, longevity, and more. No fluff, only the important stuff that matters, that impacts our lives and our careers. If you want me to share these with you, I write a newsletter twice a week, sending it out as a short 2-minute read via email. And if you want to discover the most important meta trends 10 years before anyone else, these reports are for you. Readers include founders and CEOs from the world's most disruptive companies and entrepreneurs building the world's most disruptive companies. It's not for you if you don't want to be informed of what's coming, why it matters, and how you can benefit from it. To subscribe for free, go to dmandis.com/metatrends. That's dmandis.com/metatrends to gain access to trends 10 plus years before anyone else.
Well, the funny thing is we're basically going to Einstein, and asking him to summarize a poem for us. I mean, it's like there's such massive level of intelligence, and the utilization for the general public is de minimis. All right, let's look at what's next on this. So Grok outperforms the highest level test, humanity's last exam. Up until now, we've seen, O3 was at 21%, Grok 4 was at 25.4%, Gemini 2.5 at 26.9%, and then Grok 4 and then Grok 4 Heavy comes in at 44.4%. We were talking about this a little bit earlier, Emad. Can you speak to humanity's last exam for us?
Yeah, this was come up by Scale AI and kind of a few others to have an exam that even the most polymathic people in the world would find difficult. So they estimated that like some of the smartest people in the world would score maybe 5% on it, maximum 10%. And the top models at the time, which was probably like half a year ago, 9 months ago, scored 8%. Now you have a qualitative leap above to that 44% level. And I think it's interesting because, as kind of Salim was referring to, like, what are these models for? They're at this super genius level, and it's like having a mega liberal arts program. And then the next step is going to be to have really useful people in the workforce on one stream, and then the other stream will be to take the subcomponents of this and just push up to superhuman reasoning, discovering new things at a level that we could never have before. And I think this is one of the indications of that, because, again, I tried to read some of the questions. I didn't even understand the questions.
It's impossible. Let me give you a couple examples. I literally just gave a presentation on this yesterday, so I have it right in front of me.
Tell me.
Humanity's last exam, 2,700 questions. When the slide says, for reference, humans can score 5%, that means the very best humans in any given domain can score 5% within just the domain they understand. And I'll tell you why. Like, here's an example question. Compute the reduced 12th dimensional spin-boardism of the classifying space of the Lie group G2. And then it goes on from there.
Most people can't even understand one word of that.
Exactly. Here's another one. Take a 5-dimensional gravitational theory compactified on a circle down to a 4th dimensional vacuum. So, yeah, these are the hardest questions, and that's why this exam is supposed to last for a long time. A 44% score is just way outside the range of human ability because nobody has that broad knowledge that spans all these topics.
So how long before we hit 100% here too? Emad, any bets?
2 years max, I would say probably next year.
So, there was a conversation years ago about AI getting to a point where you can't understand the questions it's asking and answering. And we're not far from that. So, I mean, we're unable to actually, at some point, we're unable to measure how rapidly it's advancing. That becomes a little bit frightening.
It's got to be driving Google nuts that Elon got this done in 28 months from a cold start.
Absolutely.
Largely because, Elon is phenomenal at large-scale manufacturing, large-scale organizational management, and people working 4 or 5 a.m., sleeping in tents on the factory floor. That's his wheelhouse, and that's Tesla, that's SpaceX, and because all the intellectual property was more or less open sourced by the research community at Google and Meta, he was able to pick up all that brilliant thinking and just plow it into implementation.
It's also small teams, right? It's not large. I mean, Google's a massive organization.
Yeah.
I think there's something else here, though. Remember, we talked about this last time when Grok 3 came out, right? But when he said he was going to put this huge cluster together, every AI expert in the world said you cannot get power laws and coherence at that scale. You just can't do it. And he went right back to first principles, created new kind of connections between the chips and whatever, and did it. And every AI expert is like, oh, God dang, he did it. And so this is the incredible ability he has to go into a domain with a beginner's mind, go to first principles, and just re-engineer the heck out of it to achieve massive performance. And I think this is an indication of that. My big question is as you mentioned earlier, Dave, where do we go from here, right? Like, what does it mean to have a 50% versus 44% on this test?
Yeah. I think if I can just give a little bit of context, in
Please.
2022, Amazon built us the 10th fastest public supercomputer in the world, 4,000 A100s,
2022. Yeah.
And that was 2022. That was the 10th fastest in the world.
Wow.
Of any supercomputer that we were training on. And there was an instance where literally hundreds of the chips melted because of the scaling. Now they've managed to, by turning this into engineering problem, scale the hardware, but also the inside of the model, which I think is this really important thing. The reason it's above PhD level in each of these areas is that was a computation at scale problem. And so what happens is that if you could scale a liberal arts person all the way up to postgrad in everything, you would. And then you specialize down. And then you look at some of these things, and Salim's question there. You've got the base down.
Just for reference, everybody, it's the XAI cluster now has 340,000 GPUs.
And they're about $30,000 or more each.
Yeah, do the math.
10 billion.
That's a lot. I mean, this is why we're seeing $1 billion a day going into AI, and why Jensen said, there'll be $1 trillion a year by 2030, and it's not slowing down. So here's another image from the little conversation Elon had yesterday. These are the benchmarks his team put up. I don't know if you want to hit on any of these, Imad or Dave or Salim. Any of the favorites for you?
Well, my favorite one is the AIME 25, 100%. You're done. GPQA, these are all hard benchmarks.
I think Elon would want to go to 110%. He likes 11 as the
likes 11.
But the only one I don't recognize is on the bottom right. Imad, do you know what that is? The USAM 25?
I think it's the USA Mathematical Olympiad.
Oh, right, of course.
So it's about to happen. But again, like, these are novel, hard benchmarks, effectively, all of them. And they're being saturated because ultimately the AI can reason mathematics and science better than we can. Again, it can't plan just